Your content is forgettable by design. You spend hours on research and people forget it the second they close the video. Meanwhile, someone with half your knowledge is growing faster, not because they're smarter, because their videos are more impactful. And Stanford proves it. Around 13% is what we remember, but with stories, 93% of it. And as a German data-driven guy, that hit different. So I'm going to show you 3 different storytellings that were killing my content and yours probably too. The first one is storytelling is fluff. Like, I knew the power of storytelling, but I was like, facts are bulletproof. You can't really disagree with them. And this might be true, but yeah, after I saw this video, I really felt the power of it. Now, this video was randomly showing up on Reddit. It's like, hey, in 3 minutes, I'm going to show you how to read a Korean alphabet. I was like, I was really interested, but I was like, hey, 3 minutes with a story? Okay. Kind of got me intrigued. And as you can see, even on YouTube, it has 3.6 million views. And this video was so powerful that a month later, I taught it in my community, and he used, sorry, I forgot to tell you, he used like these letters with, like, instead of just like, hey, this thingy is a g, or this sounds like a n. No, he used like a g for gun, a n for nose. And that made it more memorable. And it was so good that like a month later, I taught it in my community with over 70 entrepreneurs. I only watched this video 2 times. The first time when I learned about it, and the second time when I taught it here in my community when I had to prep it. And that right here, what you can see, actually means banana. So the first thing actually looks like a bucket, and that's why it's the b sound. So that was like, my mind was blown. Like, everything changed for me. I was like, damn it, my German side is suffering right now. And just to prove to you, do you remember the percentage of how much of the fact or the content we remember without stories? And do you remember the number with stories? The only thing you might remember, okay, was low and high. But yeah, just to prove my point, it was 13% and 93% with stories. So I think I proved my point here as well to you. Not that you can read Korean yet, but you can definitely watch it afterwards. Now, obviously, I told you, like, the facts are bulletproof, but the problem is they're just not sticky because you just already forgot the 13%. There's only one cool hack, actually, which you can abuse a little bit, because every time you're gonna say, hey, there is a study, people start trusting you already fast. It's like, oh yeah, study, yeah, I believe it. Just don't make up the stories, because obviously it could backfire on you. Now, the second one is, okay, David, cool, Korean story, snakes, bucket, mountains, guns, whatever, but I can't use this in business. I mean, yeah, don't talk about all this stuff in business. But there's actually a way around it, and it's the $200 billion technique. This technique is from none other than Jeff Bezos, because Jeff Bezos didn't talk about like funny stories about snakes, mountains, guns, kills, whatever. He built metaphors and mental pictures. We probably all heard about the 2 pizza team. Like, if your team, you can't feed your team with like 2 pizzas, then the team is too big. And now it's like way stickier than, for example, 12 people or 14 people. Fun fact, actually, I tried to research if he ever mentioned what the true number is. He never mentioned it. It was always the 2 pizza teams. And there's another one, obviously, and I sometimes feel like through these pictures or through these analogies, it's sometimes even easier to understand, because he had this description for what a brand is, and every brand specialist can tell you, it's like, yeah, you have this parts and this, and you have all these components and etc. We can really go deep into this rabbit hole, but the easiest way to say brand is what people say to you when you leave. I mean, that's so easy to understand, and it's so true. As soon as I'm out of the room, that's when people really think about me, about my brand, about the job I'm doing. And easiest picture. Now, obviously, I used as well like a small sticky branding here. Instead of telling you, hey, here is just, you can use metaphors, or this is the Jeff Bezos approach, I called it $200 billion technique. Obviously way sexier than, hey, this is the Jeff Bezos one. And Alex Hormozi is doing the same thing. He is the $100 million man. All his books are framed this way. And soon you're going to hear Alex Hormozi. If you never heard him before, Alex Hormozi, the $100 million man, you understand, okay, this guy means money, this guy means business, right? So it is also way easier as well. Now, the reason why it works also so good with, like, in general, stories, metaphors, these mental pictures, is because the logical brain is the left side and the emotional on the right. So if both are now activated, that's why it's also sticking way easier, way faster in our brains, because the emotions are activated. There was recently, I saw a video about memories. Their memories always have, for example, emotions. Memories without emotion, like, yeah, you don't remember. You remember the memories because of the emotions. And that's why stories make it so impactful. But obviously, huge disclaimer is, if the metaphors are not 100% crystal clear and you might confuse people, it can backfire. Like, it can make things even worse. Every time we confuse audiences, yeah, they tune out. So be mindful. These metaphors, they should not be too complicated, not too creative. Pretty much everyone should understand what it means. Like, everyone knows what a pizza looks like, right? Now, the last one is probably like, hey, David, okay, cool. I can maybe get some metaphors, but yeah, my life is boring. I don't have any stories in my life. And that is not true. That is total BS. Your life isn't boring. You just need to write them down. And I actually use this thing already. For example, for all my long form videos, I have my full vault of titles. I have a full vault of thumbnails. I always can go back, or inspiration videos. So you can do the same thing for a story. And I actually started doing this, writing my stories down, because your brain's job is not to, it's like, your brain's job is actually come up with ideas, but it's our job to remember ideas, stories, and all this stuff. I'm gonna make it so much easier. And let me tell you a quick story. So we went very recently to a local festival here. They had like lots of stands. They were selling some goodies, some food, and there was a stand, a cheese stand, and they had this black cheese. It caught my eye. So I was like, that is interesting. So I went there because I was so curious. I wanted to know why this cheese is black. Then he showed to us it had this wine crust, that's why it was black. And then this guy was just feeding us with samples, like, man, probably like 50 samples. He just kept feeding us. And then Lou, my wife's asking me, like, okay, which cheese do you like the most? I was like, oh, I like this cheese with the pepper and the spices. And it's like, okay. And then she bought it, and I said, okay, reciprocity got you. Hey, he said, yeah, he fed me so much, I felt bad if I would just left empty-handed. Now I wrote it down. Now I can talk about this in stories. Like, hey, this is like, let me tell you a story about how to attract, and then how to use the reciprocity ethic. And then I can translate it to my niches, like marketing, branding, content, all these things. Now, you might say, okay, are there any other hacks? And there is actually. So here's the viral hack from Chris 2. And you can see he got 1 million views. I mean, yes, Chris 2 is obviously successful, but 1 million views is one of his best videos, especially just 3 months ago. And that shows that you don't need necessarily own stories, because what he did is he used here Better Call Saul, a very famous, a more famous TV show than him actually. And he used part of the show, the scenes, to explain certain elements in a sales call, for a sales call or for marketing approaches, right? And this was no mistake. He's done it before. So this was 5 years ago. Again, Better Call Saul. And it was here a 40x outlier back then, like very huge for him. One of his best videos back then, obviously. But also, disclaimer here, be mindful that this audience has a good overlap. So he tried this 2 weeks ago as well, and it just got like 60,000 views. I mean, still great, but not for Chris 2. For Chris 2, everything above 100,000 is very, very good. And compared to the other month, 3 months ago, it did not hit 1 million views. I think the problem is like, yes, okay, Michael Jordan obviously is the GOAT. He is probably more known than Chris 2, but that he had a documentary, I didn't know. I think it's just playing on Apple, I think. I don't know. But another thing is like, okay, do all these marketing and designers and the salespeople actually, do they watch this stuff, or like are they seeing the overlap with it? So for example, if I want to talk about marketing, branding,
and I'm gonna start talking about Game of Thrones, yeah, I think there's a small mismatch. So be mindful here as well. Now, let me give you also a little bonus here, and it's from the founders of South Park. I'm pretty sure almost everyone talked about this storytelling hack, but it's most people tell a story is pretty much a little bit like a kid when we were childs. We were speaking stories like this. So I went to this cheese stand, and then I saw they had the black cheese, and then he fed us these samples, and then we bought. It's like not really good. So they say it's very simple. You actually use two words. You say this happened, but then, which is then creating conflict. Or you're gonna say, because of this, therefore this happens. So there's then the consequence. And the reason why it happens, works so well, is because a conflict plus the consequence is like, it makes people stay in their seat, on the edge of the seat, you know? So if you want to do this, you can rewrite pretty much every story just using those instead. And a small hack is you just use a post-it, you put it right next to your camera, and then you write there the two words like but and therefore, and then you try to implement them more often in your communication. So now you know that you can use storytelling, but you want to use them more in an authentic way. You want to speak more, be the more real in front of the camera. So what you can do is click on this next video, because I'm going to show you exactly how I overcome my whole camera shyness, and you can watch this then there.